Hey, take out that cassette tape, would you? This? Yes, that's it.
I take my friend to Eden, where the vampires and the humans have freedom. In Eden. It's like that. You know? Hello and welcome back to another episode of Volume 1, the anime and manga podcast where we highlight and discuss new series each week. And today we are back talking about an anime exclusive, which means that my name today is Josh. I'm going to go with the easy one, Vampire Michaels. And today I am joined by
Mehgan Pugperine.
Mehgan Pugperine. That's amazing.
Fitting.
Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Volume 1. Like I said, we are going to be covering an anime today. Netflix just released their new 5-episode series, Vampire in the Garden. It's an anime exclusive. There's no manga for it. And I thought this was a fantastic series. We planned on talking about something completely different, watched this, and had to talk about it. I didn't know, almost anything going into this, anything at all. You showed me the trailer for it a while ago, and I was stunned by the animation. It's done by Studio Wit, of course. You know them, you love them. They did Ranking of Kings last season, I guess. Last season and this season.
I think it had some overlap. I'm not
I think so too.
Sure, but yeah, Wit's good.
Great. Wit is lit, and you know that. But you didn't know much about this before we started watching it either, right?
No, and I honestly didn't even know it would be as short as it was. And I obviously didn't know there would be it would be like a ONA, which is like an original, I forget the acronym. It's ONA, OVA, and this is just standard animation by itself, which is usually, about a shorter amount of episodes. But I didn't really know the plot points. I didn't really know there would be a pug.
That
spoiler,
there was a
I guess.
Character, literally, or not even a character. It was a vampire and a pug. You love vampires. You love pugs.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd see the two together.
Yeah.
It was like someone tapped into your brain and pulled this out of your mind.
They really
it was
did.
Crazy.
They really did, and they got an A+ for that. But overall, I mean, we were just watching this on our free time. We didn't really plan to watch it for an episode to prepare for one, but I just was like, we have to talk about this because more people need to watch this because it is so short and because it is so solid.
Yes. And if you were like us and have no idea what this series is about, like I said, it's on Netflix right now. It's only 5 episodes. It's a super easy watch. And Volume 1-chan, our beautiful AI, is going to read a synopsis to you and to us now. So without further ado, Volume 1-chan, can you let the people know what Vampire in the Garden is all about?
In Vampire in the Garden, a young girl, Momo, joins hands with the vampire queen, Fine, to embark on a journey to find a place where humans and vampires live in harmony.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
It's so beautiful. I really was taken by this series. I mean, it's so hard, I think, for me. My experience with vampire anime back in the day, of course, I watched Vampire Hunter D. I really enjoyed it at the time. A little bit of Hellsing. Never got into Castlevania, although I wanted to. Was a huge fan of Bram Stoker's Dracula and Rice's Interview with a Vampire, and just vampires in general. I do enjoy. We talked about Zom 100 not too long ago, and I mentioned that I had zombie fatigue. And I don't quite have vampire fatigue yet, but it is hard for me to find a series about vampires that I enjoy. It's so hard to get it right for me personally, because it can lean too much on this Victorian aspect or just any aspect that comes with vampires. It could lean too heavily on certain things that don't really strike me personally, but this was just amazing. It was perfect because it was about vampires. Yes, it was post-apocalyptic. Yes, kind of. If you've seen or read Seraph of the End, a little teeny tiny bit like that, just in the sense that
comparison, just a little bit.
If you're looking for a kind of comparison, although it doesn't go the direction that Seraph of the End goes. It's not quite a romance, but it also kind of is. It's about, creativity and the arts, but it's also about finding Momo, finding her Eden, but also the Eden within herself.
It's a romantic in the sense that it romanticizes like freedom and like the choice to do what you want.
Yes. That's better said than I put it.
And I am a sucker. I'm a sucker.
Ah, you are.
For anything zombie vampire. I've watched a good amount of vampire anime, I guess. Like, to name a couple off the top of my head, I just watched Shiki, I believe. I think that is what it's called. For the first time a couple years ago. Vampire Night zombie. I'm thinking of something else. Vampire Night. Karin, which is like a throwback. It's kind of disgraceful. But yeah, just like a couple, like Rosario Vampire, like stupid.
Yeah.
But,
it's so crazy that the series that we watched involving vampires differs so drastically.
Yeah, yours like more serious, and mine is just like, there's one serious one, but it usually just plays around with it. But yeah, I do like vampire stuff. So when I saw Vampire in the Garden, knew I had to watch it at some point.
Yeah, I was hooked by the animation, and just in case you're worried or wondering, we are going to be talking about this series spoiler free. In this section, there'll be a timestamp down below where we cover it more in a more spoilery way, and we do give away spoilers, but we'll let you know. We'll give you ample time before we start diving into spoilers, because I also have some, predictions or maybe some theories as to what might happen, because not everything gets wrapped up in 5 episodes. There are people online who are complaining a little bit, or maybe not complaining, but I've seen in preparing for this episode, some people not satisfied with 5 episodes, wanting more. And from what I've seen, and it is hard to find official news about it, but from what I've seen and gathered, it seems like this is part 1. So what comes next will not technically be a season 2, but a part 2, and that will be the first installment, or maybe the whole story that they want to tell. Things are pretty left, pretty open-ended when in terms of some characters. A lot of characters' hearts seem to have changed in a certain way. And I will say that just because it is 5 episodes, and to speak on the point of other people saying that it maybe went by too fast, I absolutely love the pacing of this and thought that it accomplished everything it needed to accomplish in 5 episodes.
I totally agree. It was very refreshing to see. I mean, you've watched like anime movies before, and it is kind of like everything's wrapped up. But even sometimes in anime movies, like the pacing is a bit bad because they're trying to jam pack everything. Yeah. This felt, it was a great pace throughout the story. The first episode was like one of the first, like the best first episode I've seen in a long time, because it gives you all the information that you need to propel the story and to tell you what's going to happen without it being dragged along. Because if it was like a, even 10 episode, 11 episode anime, it would have dragged that on a little bit more, but you felt like the commotion, you felt the urgency.
Yeah, there's urgency because the characters have a sense of urgency. They're running from something. And I think that if it could have been longer, it could have been 1 episode longer. Could have been 6 episodes. And I only say that because there are some characters that do end up falling by the wayside, but through context clues and through just like the little that you do get to see of these characters that are intended to be more background characters, you don't really need to know.
Exactly.
It would have been nice to maybe see, but you know who these characters are in the background. And I'm talking about one character in particular. But as far as the main cast of characters go, and by the way, the character designs, again, are also part of what drew me in. You have the name of the character designer written down.
Yeah,
but I believe they worked on Naruto.
Yeah, they were like the main what's it called? Character designer for Naruto. So it's Tetsuyo Nishio, and he was specifically chosen by Kishimoto to do the character design when the anime came out. But he's goated. I mean, he's done like key animations for like Neon Genesis and like Fooly Cooly and most of the Naruto movies and like GTO, like all of these cool things. But you really like the art style, and you even asked me when we were watching. We were like, what does this remind me of?
Yeah.
And of course, it's very.
It reminds me once, and I kind of I figured out that I was thinking of Naruto, and then to see that it was a character done by a character designer for Naruto, I was like, oh yes, because I totally see it. I totally see it. It didn't click about 2 episodes in, like, oh, this is where I recognize this like design from. I just love the way that they draw or design their characters, their character wardrobes. I love the eyes, something about how they portray eyes. I just really enjoy. The animation had a fluidity to it. It had a polish to it. It was really, really stunning. And again, because it's 5 episodes, they gotta cram a lot. They gotta move, and so everything that happens is important. They don't have time to waste on these little side adventures. There's even a montage at one point to kind of like get through what would, I feel like in other series, be like a 2 or 3 episode run of their journey to a specific location.
Exactly. And it was just the right, I mean, again, like, I love a series that doesn't shove information down your throat every 5 seconds. You know, as a watcher, are able to put some stuff together through context clues, which this does a lot. And even like mini flashbacks, very scratchy memories. You can kind of piece it together what happened. They don't need to explicitly tell you, which I like as a viewer.
Me too.
And I did like the world too, like the separation between the vampires and the humans. And like, it's so funny because you would see, I mean, I'm sure we saw both sides where there were some vampires in not the best place. It was because she was of royalty that she was probably in the better places. But just to see these two sides of like, the humans kind of having a rough time and it being very like sad and like, lonely. And then to cut to like the vampires and it's like jubilant and fun for them. But it was cool to see both sides. Well, yeah. But either or cannot.
Well, to talk about the world too, what I really like about it is most of the time in any post-apocalyptic or in any setting where they have to convey the state of the world to simplify sort of that, they tend to say, okay, well, what's happening here in this one location is happening all over the world. But what I liked about this world is that vampires and humans at their core cannot live together, hence why they want so badly to go to this place, Eden, where they are said to live in peace and it be a utopia. But I like how just because they can't live together in peace doesn't necessarily mean that that every place across the world follows the same rules that our main character's society comes from. Like there's a place, and I don't think this is very spoilery because it's not plot specific details necessarily, but it is about a place that they go. There's another place that they end up where vampires and humans, they don't live in necessarily fear of each other. There might be some fear, but they also they've learned how to like coexist, but not necessarily peacefully. Which is interesting because the place our main character comes from is like absolutely no contact. Like they have created a fortress that to keep the vampires out, and they've even prevented all of their children from listening to music, from pursuing art,
singing, art, pretty much anything,
because
fun.
They believe that stuff, as great as it might have been, that is for when life is good and comfortable, not when you have an imminent threat that you have to constantly prepare for.
And also, like, they kind of say, too, like, it's not allowed because vampires have heightened, like, senses and in hearing. So it's like, well, that would be the same if you were just talking to me now. Yeah. It's just an excuse, but yeah. Yeah,
and something that caught me or took me by surprise, or that I was just really happy to see in the first episode, was the quality of the writing seemed to me to be very, very good, just by the way they handled little things. And this is maybe a small thing, but I remember when I was watching it, the reveal of the relationship between like Momo, our main character, and I don't think it's a spoiler because it happens in the first 10 minutes of the first episode, maybe even 6 minutes of the first episode, but her relationship with the general,
yeah,
basically, how that is revealed, and I guess I won't say it because we are going to have a spoiler section, but how that is revealed is something that happens all the time in any medium. It happens in movies, it happens in books, it happens in TV, it happens everywhere. But usually it's handled very sloppily, I feel, or very it's done very easily and lazy. But here it felt like they just took a little bit more time to think of how this would organically be discussed while also giving you the information that you need as an audience member. And I just remember in that moment feeling very, taken care of by the writing. And I felt like, oh, I'm in good hands. Like these writers or this writer isn't going to make me feel stupid, or he's not writing to an audience that he thinks is stupid. And I really appreciated that.
Yeah, I genuinely felt the dialogue was really real for, like, obviously the world of vampires. Like, it wasn't over dramatized. It wasn't, these vampires using, these crazy big words to sound more elegant. And usually when you see vampires, because they've lived so long, it is like this type of, like, I don't know, like air, or like we're better than you. It was just two sides. It was like, fighting. Like, it wasn't like we're better than them. It was just like, okay, well, what are we even fighting for anymore?
Yeah.
Like, it was really cool. It was really well done. I did like the dialogue. And speaking of dialogue, we did watch the dub, which was really good.
Yeah, I think the dub was fantastic. I think the performances were great.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that they brought some nuance to the characters. I could tell that I think that's kind of the direction of dubs past a certain point. I think they really started to get their shit together because they were bad for a very long time. But this is one that I can just feel, again, the actors wanting to give their best performance and doing these little subtle things to add to these characters. That really, really sold me on it too. I was very impressed by the dub. I was very impressed by the writing. I was very impressed by the animation. And like Mehgan said, that first episode really grabbed me. It did everything a first episode needed to do without, again, feeling heavy-handed, without, there are things we know about vampires already that we don't need to be reintroduced to. It hit all the points it needed to hit in the amount of time it needed to hit them. And I remember when the credits rolled on the first episode thinking, like, that's how you do a first episode. Like, that was fantastic. Even our main character Momo's reaction to things feels very human a lot of the time. Her whole journey I really loved, and what the message of that journey was.
Yeah, Momo as a main character, I think this was intentional. At first, you kind of have an idea of who she is and like what she is gonna be like the whole story. But you learn that she is she went to like military school, so she's really versed in like combat, and you see that throughout the whole like series. Like, she is very capable. Mm-hmm. And it's really refreshing because I thought it was going to be like a damsel in distress kind of the whole time. Yes. And it was just going to be this like scared girl who doesn't know what's going on, who to believe, blah, blah. But no, she like kicks ass, and they don't make like a big deal about it. It's just, that's just because she's trained, and that's how she just knows what to do, which I really liked.
No, I really appreciated that too. The first episode opens, the anime opens on like her raiding this village or raiding this like abandoned town, hunting vampires. So we get to see that she has this training and is a part of this troop and is out in the field and capable, so that when later on, like, she might not be in her, military, her, what do they call it? Her fatigues. Is that what they call it? Whatever. When she's not in her uniform, I guess, she is in like regular clothes. You kind of do forget. And then when she does things, you remember like, oh yeah, of course she's able to do that because she has all this military training.
Yeah.
And there is something really cool about seeing her in very casual clothes, like just being a badass. Like, she's in like a sweater with a turtleneck and it's brightly colored because she's, going on this journey and has to deal with things along the way. So when you see her have to tap into that, she doesn't want to, I don't think. She's someone, again, who is interested in music and is interested in the arts, but does have this in her bag. So it is cool to see her reach in and pull out those skills when she needs to. And it makes sense within the story.
Yeah, and to have not just Fine, I mean, it was a cool contrast because like Fine's strong, of course, but we'll go into reasons why she was not as necessarily strong as she could be. Which it was like a cool contrast to see, like, she is like a regular human and she's like kicking ass, like she's really kicking ass, and to have this vampire that could be at this level but chooses not to be, it was
and I think the battles, the fights, gore, all of it was some things were pretty, not hard to watch as someone who likes, this genre. But it was cool to see. It was like, wow, that was done very well. Like that looked really cool.
And you know what it kind of reminded me of? Like the setting in the world, like if Fire Punch was like an anime.
You know what? For a second, I did kind of get that vibe too, a little bit.
A little bit. I'm not saying like entirely, but it was like
Fire Punch,
large landscapes of like frozen ice and like just snow and demolishing buildings. And there were some points I was like, wow, like imagine you guys if we got like a Fire Punch anime.
Yeah. I also thought that the main characters outside of Momo, I would consider Fine in this part a main character as well. Mm-hmm. And I thought she had depth too. And what I really appreciate about like to the point of depth, like the antagonist. This story has antagonists. Like it doesn't have villains, and I really appreciate that in a story because although they aren't necessarily villains, and they are, I would consider them more antagonists. They don't have just one motivation, or if they do, it's because they have so much dimension. They have so many layers to them. Yeah. That they're very complex. They're people. They're fleshed out people that have pasts, that have had interactions that aren't all quite set in their ways, but are, some of them might be set in their ways because of things that have happened to them, but are open to change, or some of them you think have one motive, but their motive is, deeper than what it seems to be. Everything, even an overbearing parent and this like manipulative sort of abuse, this psychological sort of abuse, is all here. And that part was handled, and we'll talk more about it in the spoiler part, but that part was handled, like, I think really well too. And that was in the first episode, but some of the people who are after them, they're just complex, and I appreciate that too. They in their mind, not only do they think that they're doing the right thing, but I also understand why it's the right thing to them. I empathize with their motives and motivations.
Yeah, all of the characters were really, really, really well done. Like all of them were like likable in some way. And even obviously there are characters that you're not supposed to like, but they were all like, again, like you just said, like I understand their motivations. I get it. It would be more frustrating if it was just this person that you had really no connection or like didn't understand.
Who were like, this one guy who was like, vampires and humans are never meant to be. Vampires are the superior race. We will take them all. I'd be like, okay.
Yeah, okay. Right. But it was like really good on both sides opposing. It is, the opposing side to them, both sides, I guess, the humans and the vampires, because they're a part of both worlds, but both worlds are, kind of fighting against them.
Yeah, I mean, if you haven't seen the series, I mean, I think that's all I can say without giving anything else away. Do you have anything else that would be considered spoiler-free that you want to say before we move on? And again, come back if you haven't seen it yet. It's 5 episodes. You can watch this in like a couple hours. It just surprised us because we were like 3 episodes in and we're maybe thinking about like, okay, well, we'll just finish it a different day. And then saw that it only had 5. And we're like, we're finishing this right now.
Yeah, it was super easy, and the episodes go by pretty quickly. And there's a couple fake out, like cut to black. Oh yeah. So you're like, oh, it's over. That was a really short episode. Oh no, it's back. Oh, it's really is really funny. But no, I mean, overall, like again, without spoiling anything, very well done. I also liked the music a lot. It's the composer Yoshiro Ike, which is, I've never watched Tiger and Bunny, but I've heard a lot of good things of Tiger and Bunny. Tacto P Destiny, I think it came out last season. It's about music, like Gantz, Zero, Ergo Proxy, like Dororo, I think. But yeah, just like a bunch of good people working on this, and it shows.
Yeah. So as far as I know, there should be, or was able to find, there should be a part 2 coming out of this series. But if you haven't seen part 1 yet, go check it out. Do yourself a favor. It flies by. It's very short. It's beautifully animated. And for all the other reasons that we mentioned, do yourself a favor and check out Vampire in the Garden. I've heard other people, one other person in another review compare this series to Romeo and Juliet. I respectfully disagree with that, and that will also be, gone deeper into in the spoiler section. But I'm just trying to help you get a better sense of like maybe aspects of this story that you can expect, and help decide if this is a series that you think you would enjoy. But I really do think that it has a lot for everybody here, and would highly recommend it. So before we go into our spoiler section, we'll just tell you one more time, do yourself a favor, check this series out. But if you've already seen it, or if you haven't seen it, saw it, and then came back, then we are about to get into our spoiler section.
Spoiler section.
In 3, 2, 1. Spoilers. Okay. Do you want to start, or do you want me to start? Because I have some stuff that I think I was holding back from saying.
I guess the reveal is what you wanted to talk about at first.
Not necessarily the reveal, but for me, I just wanted to talk about, the mom character first, like going chronologically, giving some stuff away, I guess. The mom character, the general, is Momo's mom, right? Which is not a huge spoiler. It's in the first couple minutes of the first episode, but still, didn't want to ruin that for you just in case. And what I really liked here is this like psychological sort of abuse that was not what I liked, but I mean, you know what I mean?
I was like, okay.
But just like how it was portrayed, because and this is again in the first episode when I was like, this is a series that's just done well. When this mother, this general, lashes out at her daughter, hits her, and then immediately after tries to manipulate her way back into her daughter's arms by basically blaming her, like, why do you make me do this? Like, I love you so much, like, and genuinely feeling the mother's like. This mother character is so like she is a product of this society for sure, but she is so just convinced that everything she is doing is right. She does, I think, love her daughter, but she loves her daughter for who she wants her daughter to be, and is just in that moment saying like, I love you so much, like you're so this, you're so that, like just come to me, come to your mom, like hold your mom, and like. It gave me, chills because of just how real that moment felt. That was one thing that struck me right away. And the other thing that I was dancing around in the spoiler-free section was just the reveal, because most movies or TV shows will say like, when you're supposed to find out that the main character maybe is the daughter of the general, right?
When she refers to Momo as the general's daughter, and you're not sure.
No, I was sure in that moment, but
I wasn't sure in that moment.
But I loved how, again, just that exchange was. Because, essentially, any other movie, I feel like, or any other TV show would have handled it like, the general wants to see you. And then Momo goes into the general's office and she's like, nice to see you, general. And she's like, Momo, cut that out. I can't have my daughter, blah, 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 blah. Or like, what are they going to say when, it would have just been corny, I guess, or like, what are people supposed to think when like my daughter is running around? Or it would have just been more heavy-handed. I can't think of like the exact like way that I'm picturing it in my head, but I feel like I've seen it before and it's just been like shoved down my throat. But this was like, there was this conversation about nepotism. Like I had to put you in the warehouse. I had to put you on the line because I didn't want people to think it was nepotism, and that gives you your first clue. Like, okay, well, is she her mom, or is she like, is she her older sister? Is she like an aunt? Like, how is she nepotism? And then she's goes on to say like, refer to me as general and this and that. And it wasn't until like she's about to be dismissed and she's like, yeah, and there are rumors going around that the general's daughter like did this and this and that. And again, it's not, if you've picked up on the context clues throughout that conversation, then you're like, oh, cool. I get it, I guess. But I just felt like I was in good hands in that moment. And I know that might not be coming across the best way right now in this moment. But I really felt that. And that's when, for me, I was like, this is going to be a good one. This is going to be a smooth ride. These writers, they got a good grip on their pens, good.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Good fingers on the keyboard,
Good fingers on the keyboard.
Good fingers on the keyboard.
Yeah, I don't even know what I was doing, but I didn't even know that she was the general at first. So I was like, oh, there's another guy that's the general, or someone else that's the general that's her daughter. And I was like, oh, it's her daughter.
It's a series you got to pay attention to. That's why. I mean, these things go right over your head.
Yeah, I missed it. But we get a little before that whole, not before, it was a little bit after, but Momo and her friend on the assembly line, they find a little music box because music's banned, and she ends up bringing it back because she wants to like listen to it and fix it. And she's like playing it in her bed, and then she hears something like, she hears something in her room, and it's probably like her mom. We get a little like Mama Isabel moment.
Oh, that was crazy.
That was kind of scary.
That was terrifying. Yeah, a little Isabella Promised Neverland moment right there. Yeah,
Emma stare.
Yeah, while she was like asleep.
Because she was like
in her
playing
bed.
it because you're not supposed to have music, and she's playing it. She goes, oh shoot. And then it's just like her mom's just like staring over her bed. Just like looking at her.
And again, just in that moment, we get, if we didn't already get a sense for who this woman was and what her relationship with her daughter was by that conversation, constantly having referred to her as the general, even in private. Like, that's what, again, the subtlety of that is it gives it away. Like, there was no like, call me general, or like, you can call me mom when no one's around. It was like, no, even when it's just me and you, refer to me this way. Plus that stare, you're like, I totally get who this character is 100%. And her relationship with her mother over the course of these 5 episodes was, I think pretty well done, and at times hard to watch. Why did you react that way?
I have a theory.
What's your theory? Go ahead. We're in spoiler zone, baby. Go ahead.
Because we haven't even talked about that character yet. But I just had a thought.
About her brother?
Maybe it's not her brother.
Okay. Why do you think that?
Because they kind of made it such a big deal when she was like, he's like, hey, I'm your uncle. And she's like, I don't even know you. I don't even recognize you. And he kind of was like, and maybe what we see at that wedding was her just trying to like crash it because like maybe she liked him.
Because
they had a baby.
Right.
So, I don't know.
So we get introduced. No, I mean, I wanted to hear it.
I just thought of it. Stupid.
No, I couldn't wait, and I didn't want you to forget it. But we meet another character at a certain point who is this. He carries around a samurai sword. He is this rogue. He is not necessarily. He doesn't seem to fit within the society that Momo and her mother, who is the general, live in. He does follow his own sort of rules. He is sort of like a vagabond, if you will. What do you call it? A nomad, maybe a little bit in a sense, maybe. But he doesn't feel like he understands that vampires can be tools if they are, if he is using them right, I guess. Like if he's giving them blood and keeping them alive in exchange for information, like he plays by his own rules, and the general does not like that at all. And their relationship is sort of a mystery for a little while until we find out that is apparently her, the general's brother and Momo's uncle, who was one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, he was great.
Yeah.
Super real.
And the reason I love this character is because, again, like I said, with every antagonist, he is not singular. He is not one note. He is not somebody who thinks that, vampires are all the way bad and humans are all the way good. He has clearly been scarred by a vampire in the past. And there was a point in his life where he was so open to being around vampires that he even seemed to have married one. And then eventually either that vampire turned on him or his sister, but maybe potentially not his sister, and ex-lover showed up to his wedding and massacred everybody. But I love that over the course of these 5 episodes, we get to see him because he seems so sure. It's like he seems so sure that vampires and humans could live harmoniously before we met him. Then we meet him when he's already been hurt. Then now he feels like, I was young, I was naive, I was stupid, which is why I think he also empathizes with Momo because he's like, she's young, she's naive. I felt the same way.
And I had to learn the hard way.
Yes.
And I don't want her to learn the hard way. I just want her to learn.
Yes. And so I think now he thinks that, but then over the course of the 5 episodes, he gets to a point where he's like, maybe I'm wrong. Like maybe I have been looking at this the wrong way and been, this hatred for all vampires came from this one incident, and maybe it's more complex than that.
Yeah.
I mean, I
really liked him.
I liked
his team too.
Oh yeah.
They were all just like super badass, and yeah, that's what I don't know. It's an interesting theory, but it was just odd that they kind of stayed on that for a little bit.
Yeah. Because
she was like, "Oh, you don't recognize me?" I mean, I guess maybe they hadn't talked in a long time, maybe after even that incident. I don't know, but I was thinking like, her hair is brown, his hair is brown.
Is it brown? I think it was more of like a blackish, bluish kind of color.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh. Anyway, who knows? They don't mention her dad ever, so.
Yeah, and who's having a baby with that woman? That freaking devil lady.
Tyrant.
Yeah, that tyrant.
Yeah.
I mean, I know a lot of people who would be into that, though.
Yeah, if you're into Dommy Mommy.
Dommy Mommy, yeah. If you got a thing for
Dommy
Mommies, then
check out Vampire in the Garden.
Yeah. But yeah, he was a very interesting character. I also want to mention, now that we know more about or now that we're able to talk more about Fine, again, our introduction to her and thinking right, in typical vampire fashion, that she is this, like, because they can live for long periods of time, and I don't know if in this world they're technically immortal, because it does seem that Fine was a young child vampire. And
there's older vampires too.
The elders, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which again, none of that really gets like super, super addressed. But if you're a fan of the genre, then you kind of know what the elders want. You kind of know why they want her to come back to the throne, because she is the queen who has fled. You can put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah.
And it's never addressed. Like, it's never addressed after that. Like, but yeah. So she is someone who is also scarred. And what's funny is, Mehgan, you made this point, and it is what this whole show is about, and why I disagree with it being called a Romeo and Juliet kind of story.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because, obviously, just because they're vampires and humans doesn't mean one is like the Montagues and the Capulets, just because they can't live harmoniously, because there's not a traditional necessarily, or maybe even at all, romance between the two characters. You might get hints of it, or there might have been a potential for it, but the vampire Fine was in love with another woman and was using Momo, and says that to Momo, that I was just using you were a replacement for this person I was mourning over, and you looked so much like her that I just wanted to have you around selfishly. But you pointed out, Mehgan, that Momo also used Fine to get out of her situation.
Yeah. Yeah. And at first, I mean, you see both sides, and it was interesting to me because when we get more flashbacks to Fine and Momo, Fine and I don't know her name. It's something with an A. Yeah,
the girl that the girl that came before Momo.
Yeah, the girl that came before Momo. You realize that like they're in opposite situations completely, that are like opposites but the same. Because Fine was kind of Momo's age when she met this other girl. Momo, she's older now. Fine's the older one. So it's cool to see that. And to find out later, this mansion that Fine lives in now was, the previous girl's mansion, and she's sleeping in the same bed and, playing the same music, and it is just so, tragically beautiful.
Yeah, you think that, oh yeah, Fine's just cultured because she walks the earth, she roams the earth, for all eternity, and she's just picked up all these things over the course of her life. But no, it's because of this other human.
Mm-hmm.
And again, yes, that their roles were reversed, and she became that to Momo. But it is so beautiful, just and again, I do get maybe a sense of romance between them, but I don't know how much of that is Fine when she's still at the point that she's emotionally kind of just using Momo, or if it's to the point where she is able to see and appreciate and love Momo for who she actually is.
Yeah, and she's again like, very much romanticizing like the past and living in the past and not in the present. And yeah, and that's the cool thing about the uncle character as well, is that he's trying to tell Momo, he is using his pain and his past to tell Momo why she shouldn't explore. He and again chalking it up to just childlike naivete. He's just saying that, like, his trauma is not allowing him to allow her to just be free, I guess. Yeah.
And he's using his past and his pain as a way to keep her, caged. And I don't know, there was something kind of like, a little poetic about that too. And I love their relationship that forms, because she takes a little while to warm up to her, but not forever.
They can't have forever because it is only 5 episodes.
Also, in the first couple of interactions their introduction, and then the second time they have to flee. I've never seen so many vampires use trucks before.
Oh my god, the driving mechanics in this is so ridiculous. Every time they drive a car, it is like, I get it, you're a vampire, you have maybe like no fear of death, but I mean, these vampires can die pretty easily with a gunshot, or even a stab. I mean, pretty easily. I mean, they keel, but you can get one. And they're just driving around so crazy. Phoenix driving around so crazy, and there's one scene like they drive so fast and it like goes off the road and in the sky a little bit. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, if you watch, it's in the second episode. So I guess if you're here, hopefully you've already seen it. But go back if you don't remember. I think they forgot to keyframe the vehicle sort of to the road, and it's just like. It just went so all over the place. It did not follow any rule, any physics. It was just slipping and sliding and floating everywhere.
It was like
and it was
that
for a second.
It was like that meme of the what is it called, the lawnmower?
Yeah.
And it like is going on the floor and then it like flies all the way in the sky. That's what it was like.
Yeah, I wanted to put like a freaking Three Stooges sound effect, like whoop, 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 and it's like
it's Luigi's Mansion.
But yeah, I think that their road trip too, and this is something that you don't get to see all the time. A lot of times you get to see vampires and they're always in their robes and they're in their royal, Victorian garb, and it's like elegant and it's fantastic and it's beautiful and it's
Elegance,
nice.
Fantastica, eleganza.
But I loved how we got to see Fine in like some fits, dude. We got to see her.
Yeah, little sunnies. We got to see her like hair tied up.
Yeah.
We got to see, we got all the tropes in there. We got everything in there for our classic road trip, and they were having fun, and it was very cute.
And that's the thing, like I think that's the beginning of the 3rd episode. You're getting this. I think it's a very fresh take on a very fresh vampire story with elements of tropes that you might have seen in other vampire stories, but not so many that it bogs down the story in any way or makes it feel any less original. You're like, okay, I'm in. These first 2 episodes, I think I get it. And the 3rd episode starts with like a country song, and they're in a truck, and it's like they're really on a road trip, like they're doing it. And she's got like Mehgan said, her hair tied up. She's got sunglasses. She's like chewing. She's like drinking whiskey out of a little flask.
Yeah, Mom was like, "Don't you need blood, or like you can like drink too?" And she's like, I'll be fine as long as I have this.
Yeah.
And she has like a freaking like MD-40 glass. I was like,
she got
girl.
a Mad Dog 2020,
Yes. I was like, chill.
Yeah, but then the country song's like, it's like not this song, but it's like, on the open road, I take my friend. It's just like this like really, cool country song.
I take my friend.
I take my friend to Eden, where the vampires and the humans have freedom. In Eden. It's like that, And I was like, okay, like this really changed. This changed. Yeah.
That was so good.
Yeah. I was like, I expected her to have freaking chewing tobacco in her lip.
She might have.
Teenagers. you know, and
With their big ass fangs.
Yeah, with their big ass fangs. Big ass fangs. But I thought this was so cool, and it was sweet. It was very sweet, and you do get a sense that they are becoming friends and they are bonding. And yes, there's two parts that I think could have benefited from it being a little bit longer. The first part being maybe this part. It would have been nice to have not multiple episodes, but maybe just one episode, because this is seen in montage, right? You're seeing montages of them at gas stations and having to fix up the truck, or like stopping in a hot spring or something, you know, like, or at a bathhouse or whatever. You're just seeing them do typical road trip stuff, but you're seeing it all happen in a montage until they get to this destination. And I would have liked to see a little bit more of that, but I'm not saying I needed to, but I would have liked to.
Yeah.
And that's where we get to the new city again with this rule separated down the middle that humans can live on one side and vampires live on the other side. But they do have common areas open for trade. The humans will give blood in exchange for gold. The vampires will give them gold for their blood.
Yeah, we kind of see it too, which was like a really just like nice touch, and like set the tone for this area that they were going into. Pretty much Fine dresses up Momo in this like garb and like paints some symbol on her face, and I guess context clues you understand that this is like a thing that vampires do with humans, and they call them like blood bags, and they walk around they walk around with just like human slaves pretty much, maybe in hopes that they will become vampires, because we do see that too, with people that are trading or being like traitors to the human race, because they're being, you know, promised they'll be vampires. Oh yeah,
that was part
of
like cool. In the first invasion that we saw.
And she dresses her up, and then they take a toll of like 2 bottles of blood per passenger, and then they go in through, and it is like a human asking her the questions, but then the blood gets passed to like the bodyguard vampires, and it was like, oh, that's a nice.
Yeah. It costs money and blood, and the money goes to the humans, and the blood goes to the vampires. So it's like, damn, this is like a society that they have.
Yeah.
And they're not living peacefully, but they are coexisting. And I just appreciate that, one situation doesn't explain the entire world, because the world is fucking huge. And
but we get enough. We get enough information to be like, we get it.
3 different kinds of societies in 5 episodes, and that's really cool, because the world's huge and they traverse a lot of it. So, you'd hope that they'd run into some different-minded people.
Yeah.
Again, even though they're not living perfectly. This whole section I really love. We also, are introduced to this other character that we haven't mentioned yet, who is on the hunt for Fine, because like we said, Fine is obviously the queen. But
Allegro,
I think.
Yeah.
Who has, which is like, I think like some sort of medicine. I think it's like an allergy medicine.
It is. And then it's also, music. Allegro. Oh. I think it's Allegro.
Really?
Yeah. Allegro is something to do with music, right? I'm not crazy.
I don't think so, but who am
Allegra.
I thought that was an allergy medicine. Anyway, this is a character too. I don't know who the pug, the biggest question, who does that pug belong to? Does it belong to Allegro or Allegra, or does it belong to Fine? Either way, Mehgan it does have to do with...
Allegro is fast, quickly, and bright.
See, there you go. I'm dumb.
Fast, quickly, and bright. Not really a good name for him. He's not really...
He's fast. And he's not the brightest, but he's not the not brightest.
Yeah. He's cool, though, because he has a pug.
Yeah, and I never thought I would see this in any... Like, if you told me there was an anime with vampires and that one of the royal vampires had a pug that he flew around with in battle, and you told me that anime was good, I would not believe you. I was like, I believe the first 2 things, but I don't believe the last thing. It can't be good.
Yeah.
But this is all 3.
I was shooketh. I was shooketh when that pug was first introduced, and I was like, oh, that was cute. Just a little cameo, just a little thing. And then he became like a main character.
Yeah.
And he became integral.
Yeah.
Integral
and he's
to the plot.
They're sort of these...
He's badass.
Yeah. And we should, maybe have mentioned in the spoiler-free section that there is this drug that they vampires
Yes,
take
yes,
that is
yes,
like
yes.
their way of kamikazing themselves, I guess, because it's like it sends them on a suicide mission. They gain power, but at the cost of losing their own flesh and blood and body.
It's kind of like a last result.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not gonna get out of the situation, so I'll just take this to be able to fend them off. But we should have mentioned also too in the beginning, Momo has a best friend, and they're
we didn't want to say that she died in the beginning.
No, in the beginning of the spoiler section.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was a spoiler for what else?
No, we're already way into the spoiler section.
Just
Come on.
about to say, no, I'm just kidding. Oh yeah, Momo has this really close friend, and she ends up dying during this like massive battle between the vampires and where Momo's society is, because they're trying to overthrow it. And that was like a pretty good, pretty big moment for her, for sure, because like after she died, it was like she has really nothing left there. Like she didn't care about her mom. Like,
and she was already going to leave anyway.
Yeah, she
even
was.
Even when that girl was alive.
Yeah.
But the reason I wanted to bring him up and the way he shapeshifts is because these vampires obviously they have many forms, and I really like this too. Like they can like kind of stretch, they can extend or grow, manipulate their limbs to change size. They can sprout wings, sort of kind of typical vampire stuff. But not exactly. Again, I haven't seen a lot of vampire stuff.
Not exactly.
Not exactly the same things you see in other maybe vampire anime and manga.
Yeah, for sure. Like when they hit like their final form for the shot, the insulin thing that they take.
Yeah, like the super serum.
Like the super serum, like they turn into this like moth type creature.
Yeah, they look like moths.
Yeah, it's very, very, very cool. It's
moths, creatures of the night, but moths, are attracted to light. Moths are attracted to light. Vampires have to flee from the light.
See, I didn't even think about it. It was very cool to see this like more monstrous version of a vampire, not just like another bat version of a vampire.
Yeah.
You do see that a lot.
Yes. I love the character designs of their final forms. I thought they were really, really cool. Yes, very moth-like, but also, and this is not a slight, this is not a dig, because I love this series, but also it felt very Ben 10. It felt like a Ben 10 alien.
I guess I can see what you mean.
So much so as I think there is a Ben 10 alien that almost looks exactly like one of their forms, or the vampire's final form. But I like that. It's not a dig. It's
Ben 10. Do you know the name?
I forget. I stopped after the first 10. I got into it. Because then you find there's an episode in Ben 10 where you find out he's not called Ben 10 because he has 10. He's called Ben 10 because he goes and visits himself in the future, and he's called Ben 10 because he's got 10,000 aliens. He's Ben 10,000 in the future, and so he starts to unlocking more aliens.
Spoiler for Ben 10.
Ben 10's so cool, dude. I was obsessed.
Ben 10,000?
Ben 10,000. Ben Tennyson, yeah. His name is Ben Tennyson. Ben 10, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, his best friend Kevin 11.
I see you being transported right now.
I love it. I even watched the live action movies, even though they were kind of ass. And I think this is just a weird aside. I don't think I know that the director of the first Ben 10 live action Cartoon Network movie was the other guy from Bill and Ted, not Keanu Reeves, but the other guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. Just a little fun fact. Anyway.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Their final form looks like a Ben 10 alien, but I like it.
We'll have to research that.
Yeah, we should watch Ben 10.
Yeah, we should do a review on Ben 10.
Yeah.
I already know the ending though.
No, you don't.
Because you just said it.
That's not the ending. That's like tip of the iceberg.
Tip of the iceberg?
And you don't, like, Ben 10 changes so much. There's no continuity in Ben 10. It's all over the
because
place.
he has a bunch of course he changes. He changes the different aliens.
But it also changes animation styles.
Joking.
It's like a Jake Long situation, but worse.
I was joking. That was a joke.
Well, don't joke about Ben 10. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Back
vampires. No, I'm just kidding. I really liked seeing the two sides. I liked how one was red, one was green.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that this character too, I know we've said this multiple times throughout the episode, this Allegro character we said it that many characters, their relationships with other characters is not given to you right away. But again, here with this character, it is the same situation. He is cut off like mid sentence. Like that's why I always like tried to be the best blank, and then it gets cut off, so you don't know like brother, husband, But when it is even revealed, it's kind of not explicitly revealed. He is proposing to Fine and putting a ring on her finger. I don't know if this is post this other human that she formed, or the first human that she formed a relationship with, or pre. But he also, for as evil as you think he might be, or villainous as you think he might be, the reason that I even got the sense that he did care for Fine so much. Even though he hated humans and he was, very quick to murder them if need be, and tried to kill Momo many times, he couldn't ever really bring himself to do it, mostly because he wanted to get information, but also you just got this subtle sense that he couldn't do it because of how much she cared about, Momo cared about her, but also how much it hurt him to see Momo, or to see Fine, like, going down the same path again.
Yeah.
And as a concerned sort of, partner, I guess, seeing her sort of repeat the same or cope in such an unhealthy way, because I think he could see right through what she was doing, what Fine was doing. It's like, this is a grief. People get, what do they call it? Grief dogs or whatever. He's like, you're just grieving by, replacing her with someone who looks a lot like her or just like her. And so I think he was hurting for Fine more than he was, cared about the elders and the council.
Yeah, no.
And all that.
I totally agree. And I think that it might have been like, maybe like an arranged marriage situation.
Maybe I can
That's
see that.
why it's not really like so romantic. It's just like no noble, like you have to do what you have to do type of thing. And they were more like friends than they were ever in like a romantic relationship. That's kind of the vibe that I got, because she was like super independent. She really didn't seem to.
She seemed
give
like she
a
liked
shit.
girls. And he seemed to be a guy. So I don't. Again, that's what makes me think maybe arranged. Because even when we meet her for the very first time when she's in the ballroom, she is very infatuated with another female vampire. So I mean, and she's been in love. I mean, she could like both sexes. That's a possibility as well. But throughout the course of these 5 episodes, we see at least 3 times her be attracted to women. So I just think that, maybe it was arranged and she's like, yeah, you're just not my type, dude. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
But you do get the sense that he feels bad about everything at the end of his sort of arc. And he has, all of these characters, even the antagonists, they have an arc. And at the end of his, he is very, like, he does let Momo go. He lets her escape, helps her even, or creates this moment for her to escape, and apologizes to Fine, even though she's nowhere near him. But within himself, he apologizes, and I think feels truly sorry that he wasn't interesting enough to keep her around. Sorry that he couldn't offer her the things that these other people seem to be able to offer her, and really wishing that he could. And that kind of got me too.
Yeah.
That kind of got me.
Because, I mean, he tried, but again.
So hard.
Again, like, we didn't really know what his motivations were until the very end. It became more clear because, he did do this whole plan of ambushing the humans, which didn't really work out too well because they lost a lot of them. You see him in front of the elders. Elders are pretty much saying, like, if you mess up again, like, you're done. Like, bring Fine back to the throne because this is your last chance. Like, we didn't know if he was just doing it because of his duty or like he was, being threatened to be killed. But it was more clear, definitely at the end.
And I like that too. Again, I've seen a lot of people complain about the 5 episodes that are out, and saying that, no, it needed to be longer. It needed to be longer because more stuff needed to be explained. But I like the ambiguity of all of it. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I like that we can sit here and say, like, because there is that scene where the elders say, like, you kind of fucked up. Like, you planned this attack and it failed, and you convinced us and, believed so much in this plan. Here we are. It fell apart. It was a disaster. Now Fine's gone. Like, go get her, or else kinda, like, you're done.
Yeah, you're done.
And so like you said, you don't know if it's because of a sense of duty or if he even like planned that attack because he was arranged to marry Fine, the queen that would make him the king. So he's wanting to impress, the elders by planning this attack. Like, but at the end we do see that, that could all still be true. But on top of all that, or instead of all that, or at least he really does appreciate and care for Fine too.
Mm-hmm.
And he won me over. He won me over.
Yeah. And I want his dog.
Yeah. I want his dog.
Yeah.
The two characters I think that we really have to talk about, Fine's obviously fate at the end of everything.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, and before Eden that they get to, let's talk about the Eden that they do get to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because I did get this sense sort of as it was progressing, only because I watched, 5 seasons of The Walking Dead, and there was a similar kind of plot line.
Yeah, you always know if something's like too good to be true, it probably is in a apocalyptic setting.
Yes.
So that's a red flag.
Yeah, and that is, of course, these... they look like postcards that seem to be everywhere with a map to this place called Eden, where vampires and humans can live in harmony and in peace. And that is sort of something that keeps being brought up over the course of these 5 episodes is or a question that keeps getting asked, like, can a place like this even exist? Fine's flashback of this first human that she was with, it changes. Sometimes Fine makes it seem like she was the one that killed her, or it was someone, I think it might have been the Allegro character.
Mm-hmm.
Mentions that Fine was the one, mentions that the human betrayed Fine, sold out Fine, and that scarred her. And you hear these or get these flashes of memory from this character saying, Utopia, I went to go look, I'm sorry, it's not real, Eden is not real. And it just, begs the question, is a utopia in any society possible at all, or for any amount of time? Definitely not forever.
Yeah.
There's going to come a point where people want to invade or attack or take some of it for themselves, or there's problems within.
Inner conflict, yeah.
Inner conflicts. But yeah, they scatter these postcards around with a map to try to lure people there. And then you get there and they end up using vampires as batteries.
Mm-hmm.
Their regeneration, they're able to harness electricity from the same ability that allows them to regenerate, which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
It sucked for the vampires.
Yeah, which was something I didn't expect to see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was really cool. And at first Fine obviously is there's something going on here. And at first too, I was like, well, of course there are things in society that aren't the best, but kind of keeps everyone moving forward. But then when there's literally a vampire that's trapped away in a vault, and it's get away while you can. I was like, pretty good sign to go.
Leave while you still can.
Yeah. Sorry, he just has a blood addiction. He just got here.
He's a bloodaholic.
Yeah.
He's in recovery right now.
Sorry, you had to see
Fine's
that.
I think we should probably go.
And Fine was trying, Momo comes into the room and Fine's trying to bust it open.
Yeah.
She's they didn't just stumble upon it. Fine's open that.
Yeah.
I want that. I want to see what's in there.
Yeah, and
because she can probably smell it and yeah.
And Momo's like, you're overreacting. We found our Eden. We found it. And there's this other, young little girl vampire who, of course, is pretending to be this sweet person and is a monster. But very similar to, what was it, Terminus in Walking Dead? Was that the signs?
Yeah. Terminus. Yeah, follow the railroad tracks.
Which that was when The Walking Dead was still kind of good.
It was.
Before it got to be fucking dog shit.
Ooh,
okay.
Any Walking Dead stands out there still?
I mean, dude, we've talked about it off mic so many times.
We really have. We're mourning. I think we have to talk through it.
Introduction of Negan, sick. Everything after that, ass. I'm calling it.
Ass.
Asshole.
Okay, you don't add the hole. It's
Asshole.
So vulgar. Stop.
Okay, sorry. But yeah, very Terminus vibes. And even though Fine is sort of questioning whether this is the real Eden or not, there is sort of the idea that you get the sense that it's not, but they are still going to make an Eden for themselves, right? Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden.
Oh, maybe that's why. And this whole time, like, that's what I was saying before when I wanted to like kind of touch on. Oh God, I forgot her name.
Fine, Momo?
Fine, what the hell?
I keep reminding myself because in Boy Meets World, Corey's brother Eric, he always goes Fine, Mr. Feeney, and he goes Fine, Fine, and so I'm like Fine. That's how I remember. Anyway, go ahead.
That was crazy. You look like you're making like an animal song. I mean, an animal noise. It sounds like I don't know, chant. So Fide, during this whole time, like, she is really not doing her best because she hasn't drinking human blood in a long time, ever since the incident with her previous friend that died. So you kind of get like, okay, maybe she sucked her blood or she lost control and she killed her that way. But no, she just decided not to do that anymore.
Yeah.
So she's super weak.
She's a Cullen now. She doesn't drink any blood. Yeah.
No, they drink animal blood. Yeah.
She doesn't drink, I don't even think, animal blood.
No, she doesn't. She eats human food and drinks freaking scotch.
She's an alcoholic. Yeah.
Yeah, she is. She runs only on that. They're like, you need help.
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't want blood. They're like, no, you need to stop drinking.
Yeah. Yeah. They're like, no, it's not even about the blood. Like, you're just out of control. You have a problem. And she's like, I don't have a fucking problem. Like that. Yeah. Like that. Yeah. You guys have a fucking problem.
I can't even redo that.
But yeah, she's not, not drinking blood, so she gets really sick, and that is a plot point throughout the 5 episodes as well. And the reason I say, Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden is because there's always snakes. And that little girl was a freaking snake, dude.
Yeah.
And I did get the sense that they were going to have to get to a point where they created their own Eden, but unfortunately,
pretty much,
they all don't make it. No, unfortunately,
they're at Eden, and then shit, hits the fan. Obviously, the uncle and her mom are actually on the way to Eden. They find it pretty easily. I guess everyone Eden-lessly, everyone can find it pretty easily. It's in the middle of nowhere, but I guess if you just follow the map. But anyway, they all get there and they blow shit up, kill people, kill vampires, kill humans, the whole 9. And then Fine gets Momo, and they go to another place. But during this time too, they're being chased by vampires and humans alike. Because we got Allegro being like, come back to the vampires. And then Momo's mom's like, come back to your Momo.
Mm-hmm.
Come
back to your Momo. Yeah.
Yeah, your Momo.
Yeah.
And everyone's like trying to get her. And the mom's like really at this point not even concerned about her daughter. She's just concerned about her coming back so she can pay for her sins.
Well, and that we do, we were kind of told, again, there's not a lot of time to really linger, but we are kind of peripherally shown or told in the background over like a radio playing too, that her position is in jeopardy because her rank is in jeopardy of being taken away because her daughter is a traitor and ran off with a vampire. So she's doing it, I think, to also save face a little bit too, and to keep her position. And her brother calls her out for that.
Mm-hmm.
And her brother also, again, his kind of
brother.
Arc. Right. The end of his kind of arc is, when he's finally fighting Fine and she takes the drug, he, has this like very emotional moment where Fine has him and has the win, and he says, "Do it, show Momo who you really are, like." Show her that you guys are all the freaking same. And even in that like berserker state, she is able to like pull back. And there was this cool moment of just like, Fine in her monster form and Momo just standing there calmly, just being like, let's go, Fine. Mm-hmm. And I was like, damn. Like, and you do get to see Momo's growth and confidence too. Like she gets confident.
Yeah, I know. Even like Fine, it's kind of like, there's a question that's asked to Momo a couple times during the whole 5 episodes. It's just like, like, who are you? What are you searching for? And it's like, she's searching for herself, and she's finding it slowly but surely.
Yep. yeah, this is where everything kind of comes to a head.
Mm-hmm.
It's clear that the uncle character probably survives. The Allegro character dies, lets Momo go, and Fine transforms, and they have to escape. The only thing I was gonna say that I mentioned I would say later is that there's one like scientist character that I feel like we just didn't really get we know he's like anything in the name of science, and he creates like these mechs.
Someone I think mentioned it really briefly in passing. That was like, I think that guy, that guy's trying to use Momo against us or against me or something, and that comes into play later. But I mean, you really don't care.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
There's other more important things going on.
He's intended to be a background character, but I did, his motivation, like I was left to kind of assume, based on the context clues, because it did feel like you said he was kind of maybe gunning for maybe not the general's position exactly, but maybe a higher position and science and invention, and he wanted the glory for sure.
Yeah.
But anyway, when Fine takes this drug and is fatally wounded, they escape and end up in this very beautiful sort of like cave. And this is the finale. Everything has kind of built up to this moment where we kind of understand the moment that Fine takes that drug that she's going to die. But Allegro kind of tells Momo in the moment that he's sort of dying. Momo tells him that she took the drug, and he says like, "Go save her." So you think maybe there's hope.
Yeah.
Maybe she's gonna somehow pull through. And she doesn't, but I do like that there was that, maybe she is going to make it. And when she's turning, back into her vampire form, but is still half this like sort of moth form, and the way that, that shell or that form or those muscles are kind of oozing off of her, and her skin is like burned. It was
really
very
cool.
It was very cool to see.
Yeah,
sad,
she was like
cool
slimy and like it was just something that I hadn't really seen. And vampires usually they're very much connected to burning up into ash or like just their whole body sizzling and they're just done, or just like a burnt kind of corpse thing. But it was super super cool to see this like her cells, everything was like dividing, and yeah.
This is where they have their final exchange, which I think was just very, again, well written, well done, and carried a lot of weight. Where Fine confesses that the line, of course, at first, you were just a replacement, but I began to see you for who you really were, and you are stronger than I think that you even know that you are. And it cuts to all these moments where Momo has shown strength and courage, which again is beautiful, but also in the context of this story makes sense given her military training, but it's not necessarily the person she wanted to be, but now she has a reason to want to like protect these things or fight for these things. She believes in the reasons why she's doing it, so she's more sure about it, and it does take more courage, and you're just kind of shown this like montage over the course of the 5 episodes, and you do are reminded it like, damn, yeah, she did grow a lot. And Momo's just final words to her saying like, you were, or even in before they got to the cave too, like you promised me like you were going to teach me this and you were going to show me this, and the reveal from Fine that the whole backstory, the real backstory with this first human she fell in love with, and that they went to go find Eden, that they lived in this woman's mansion, and that Fine was shown all these things, but they were on the run because their love and their relationship was taboo, and they were in search of an Eden, and that this person was killed in front of her. And that scarred her, and she said that from that point on, like I just felt so like
dead.
Empty and dead. Which again, she's a vampire, she's dead. Beautiful, all that poetic
justice.
But yeah, this final exchange was so beautiful, and it ends with Fine saying like, Momo, can you sing for me? Because Momo is also learning in the very first episode, or second maybe, like how to mourn properly, how to use art and songs and music as a way of healing. So she's kind of taught that, and she asks like Momo to sing for her, to mourn her, and Momo screams, and she's in so much pain, and doesn't do it in that moment, but instead carries Fine's body out of the cave and runs into her mom, who's fucking lost everything, and is like, "Come back, Momo! You still have you still have a chance to change everything." And Momo's fucking like, this is Momo's at the end of her journey, and she's she's reached the end of her arc, and she's like fully herself and confident now, and she just calmly walks by her abusive mother.
Yeah, that's literally holding a gun to her.
That holds a gun up to her, and she just doesn't even look back at her and says like, "You know what? Like, you were right about some stuff. You were right that I was naive maybe, or that I was kind of a brat and that I did take some things for granted, but you also, were wrong about a lot, and you also like did a lot of bad things." And she's like, he's like, she took the power in that moment because she forgave her mother,
and she grew up. You could just, she even says that, she's like, "Yeah, I've grown since then. Like, I've learned since then." And
her mother does not know what to do with that forgiveness. She's like mad. She's gone mad because she's lost everything: her rank, her daughter, everything. And Momo just takes Fine to this place to lay her to rest, and is about to sing. She goes, and then it cuts, and it's just like, wow. Just, I gave a slow clap.
Yeah.
Beautifully paced, beautifully told, beautifully written, beautifully animated, characters with depth, and such a well done series. Cannot wait for part 2, and really hope there's a part 2, and wonder where it's going to go now that Fine is dead.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even be opposed to having like a part 2 with different characters in the same world. I love when series do that. And also, if it doesn't have a part 2, like it wouldn't really matter. I mean, the story that they wanted to tell was told, and I think all the characters really were flushed out. And of course, we want to know more because we do like them so much. But everything was super intentional, and everything that happened, everything we were told, was definitely just. It was just perfect placement all around. It really didn't leave me feeling. It made me feeling empty because I'm like used to watching very long series. But overall, it was just a great experience, and I it was a little gem that I probably would have watched, but 5 episodes, it was just like, this is nice. I can just be close this chapter on this part. And if there is a second part, I'm not sure how they would do it. Might just be with Momo. I mean, maybe she's like running a revolution to fight for vampire and human rights to be together.
Or just focusing on creating her own Eden. And maybe I
wanted her to be with the pug. Yeah, I wanted her to save that dog.
Yeah. And maybe she does.
I hope so. He was left alone.
She's found her inner Eden. But maybe now she needs to create an Eden for outer people, for the outers, for the warmies.
Yeah, for the warmies and the coldies.
The warmies and the coldies. But I would like to see. I completely agree. I don't need a second part to this. It was a story that felt told, and I don't even really know where it could go. But I do think it would involve. Yeah, I do think it would involve Momo. Just a more confident, more strong Momo, trying to establish and create her Eden, but her mom coming, invading and trying to tear that apart, trying to show her that this is not possible, that, vampires and humans cannot coexist, that this is a foolish idea. And then her uncle, the uncle character, changing his heart and showing that change is possible and healing is possible, forgiveness is possible, and that he is kind of like a very important part of proving or showing to other humans and vampires. And I don't ever think the mom's going to come around. Maybe that'd be kind of cool, but I just don't think that
yeah,
is
she might
her
become
purpose.
An even bigger threat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
If there was a part 2.
But again, if there is, I don't I'm not itching for a part 2, but I would love to see where they take it.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, like you said, I agree. It is a gem, and it is worth your time. And the beautiful thing is, it's not going to take much of your time. So, we are already in the spoiler section, but I do think that there are always some people who are like, yeah, I'm not really planning on watching this anyway, or I don't care if it gets spoiled. So if you still haven't seen it, again, it goes without saying, we highly recommend this series. Just got to say it one more time. But that's pretty much going to do it. We wanted to do something different today. We wanted to cover an anime exclusive episode. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and we like shaking it up and doing this from time to time. Some things that, we're tossing around some other volume 1 stuff. Like I said, we were planning on covering something else that might move to next week, or we might switch that up again too. We were thinking about doing Witch Watch, but Akane Banashi is another one. And finally, diving deeper into World Trigger, all things you can look forward to. But yeah, should we get into our,
but we're not out of the garden yet.
Sick.
We have to get into our Wonder Circle,
which is the segment
on our show.
Am I going to do it, or are you going to do it? Am I going to do it, or are you going to do it? I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
The segment on our show, where our beautiful and smart and wonderful AI, she goes through comments that you've left on previous videos. She picks out a couple, she reads them aloud to us, and we respond to them. If you want our AI Volume 1 Chan to read one of your comments in a future Winner Circle, all you got to do is leave a comment on this video or any of our other videos. But with all that said, Volume 1 Chan, can you hit us with the first comment, please?
This one comes from Philemon Evans. Personally, I would prefer less shonen volume duns. You do what you want, of course, but considering most shonen series can go on for 60 plus volumes, it can be a little exhausting if you're not into the series. Something like Akira with its admittedly larger than usual 6 volumes, or any Urasawa work. Just something different and not a billion chapters long. Just voicing my opinion that I'm sure others share.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're completely not opposed to that. Obviously we're going through One Piece, we've done JoJo, Berserk, Hell's Paradise, Poon Poon. We've done like a couple of duns, and doing this today was great because we're not just a shonen.
Yeah, I do agree with the point too that most shonens are so long, but that's just the thing, man. I mean, I think not just me, we rack our brains all the time. Like, what's the best way to cover all the things that we want to cover? And it's like, that's why, like, I just don't know. Like, we're definitely, committed to doing One Piece every week, but finding out a way to be able to do not just shonen, but like you said, Pluto is something we've been saying we want to do. We've been saying we're going to complete. And I would like to just take time to just finish all, was 7 total, I think. So we already read 1, so finish 6 and maybe just talk about that in a video. But yeah, Urasawa stuff, Akira, I mean, we want to get to all of it. We really do. But just the way that our show is formatted, it proves to be difficult. A difficult task. And so we're trying and we got a lot of it planned. And I just hope that, because I get it too, I empathize with that. Like the idea that like, oh yeah, if I don't like this series, or like, for example, if I don't like One Piece and Bleach, then I'm kind of like, I'm kind of asked out of 2 extra videos or whatever. That's always going to kind of happen. But hopefully we can provide enough variety that it doesn't feel like, you're being excluded all the time. Yeah. It's just a balancing act that we're constantly trying to tweak and get better at.
Yeah, and I do like the idea of, like you said, I mean, a shorter series, 7 volumes, just talking about this, 6 in 1 episode. We could definitely probably do, because we've read, more, I think, in a shorter amount of time, for 1 episode, I guess.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be like, 1 volume per episode.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah. That's what I imagine. Like, I imagine doing Pluto and just knocking out the other 6 volumes. And if it's a long episode, then it's a long episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, that, like, and again, like we've even kind of talked about, expanding or diving deeper into World Trigger, and that's technically a shonen. And I don't know. I mean, I do love shonen, but I it's not all I love. I love so many other stories, and I would love to. I would really love to. And so just know that there will be other volume dones that soon-ish or in the future that aren't just shonen, and that, you know, we're constantly at least trying to stay conscious and trying to switch it up. It might feel like it's taking a long time, but, you know, we're always doing our best to, and I appreciate the comment for sure.
Yeah.
And we're always doing our best to shake it up and keep it interesting for everybody.
Yes.
You know. Volume 1 John, can you hit us with the last comment, please?
This one comes from Brandon King. This is my solid number 3 in terms of anime. It made me laugh harder than I've ever before when it got going, and made me feel for the characters in a way only One Piece and Hunter x Hunter have done. The anime is the only way to go for this one. The Crunchyroll version explains the puns, but also the anime helps the jokes land in a way that paper just can't convey.
Okay.
Wow.
Go off,
Very
King.
well said.
Yeah. This is, of course, on our Gintama episode, which it was a resounding gotta watch the anime over the manga from multiple people.
Yeah, we had asked, we had brought the question, like, anime or manga, because we like the manga a lot, and it was, pretty much 98.1% or whatever that said, like, no, anime is the way to go, like 100%. And a lot of people saying to continue the series. To continue it in anime form, which we also talked about would be an interesting kind of way to approach a volume done outside of just what we typically do, which is read the series. Exactly. Yeah.
And I think, like, I mean, I don't know, logistically, like, if that would, obviously you're able to read more in a shorter amount of time than you're able to watch.
Yeah.
Right. But, if we, did kind of just like watch it from time to time, and then whenever we did, or whenever we'd seen enough episodes to cover it on an episode, like we could do it and not really say it's gonna be every week or every other week, but just like have it come out when it comes out. Like, I still think that would be really fun to do.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there was a lot of people saying to continue it, maybe, for an episode or just like in general. Which is kind of like what we did. This was like free time watching that turned into content.
Yeah.
So you never know.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't be doing this right now, but I want to see, like, because I did. I'll look it up later or whatever. People will tell me in the comments. But
what?
No, I just didn't want to, like, it would have been just dead air, me sitting looking something up on my phone. But I was just wondering how many episodes are in a season of Gintama, because I had a feeling that for whatever reason, I feel like I remember hearing somewhere that the first season has like a lot of episodes in it. Because I was just thinking of a way to break that up, like how we would break that up. But where there's a will,
yeah, I see.
There's a way.
Season 1. Oh, look at that. How did I?
What? You looked it up.
Yeah, I looked it up while you were talking.
Well, yeah, but I mean, there was just, nobody else was talking. So. Yeah.
Gintama season 1 is 49 episodes.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Season 2 is 50 episodes. Season 3 is 51 episodes.
I mean, that's still a lot, but that's not too bad. Like, again, like we could just put it on and like, say that once we've got through the first, 49 episodes or whatever, then we'll do a video on it whenever that is. Mm-hmm. And just give no concrete kind of like, date for that, but that'd be cool. That'd be
super cool. We want to do obviously more anime stuff. We kind of have just been doing, it's been not necessarily like we've been strayed away from anime, but it's just, sitting down and watching a whole season of something, or waiting for seasons to complete, like newer, anime that have been coming out. Obviously we know we're going to be doing Chainsaw Man for sure. There's so many other
Hell's
bangers
Paradise,
coming
that comes out.
Yeah, so we know for sure there'll be an episode
maybe
reaction.
Maybe even Blue Lock. Who knows?
Maybe
just to the
even
first
Blue Lock.
episode.
Yeah. Reactions will be on the way, and season 1 reviews will be on the way too. And if you have any suggestions for that too, let us know.
Yeah, because I don't even feel like sometimes I don't feel like we have time sometimes to watch One Piece. Like, when we cover like arcs, like I like to, if there's a cool moment, I like to just check out that episode or that part of that episode. But sometimes I feel like, we don't even have time to do as much of that. Like, not complaining at all, but and I not even that I like really super mind, because I prefer reading the manga.
Yeah, I love the anime. Like, I mean, I love the anime in terms of like characterization, I guess.
Yeah.
Just putting like a
voice
to the characters and stuff.
Or
Yeah.
just seeing certain things in motion is cool, and it is epic. But yeah, that is going to do it for another episode of Volume 1. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here all the way to the very end, if you are still here. And if you're not here, then then you don't even know I'm saying this.
Maybe they could guess.
Yeah. But before we go, we do have to shout out, and we do have to thank our wonderful, beautiful, amazing, our Patreon members. Thank each and every one of you guys from the bottom of our hearts.
Thank y'all.
It's because of you guys that we are able to do what we do, and do it at the level that we do it at, and are always, again, like even with the 2 comments that we got today, we really are racking our brains constantly and having meetings constantly. And I'm sure, not to put you on blast, Mehgan.
Wow, really?
You are wonderful. You are wonderful. And, you work so hard and you do so much. But I'm just saying I'm exhausting. I feel like, I can be exhausting. I feel like.
So you mean put yourself on blast?
Well, yeah, because I say like, what I'm saying is like,
I was like, why is that?
well, no, because what I was going to say is we have so many meetings and so many discussions about like, okay, like, how should we do this? But if we do that, then this will mean that, this and that. And I'm saying like, I appreciate everything that you do, but I do feel like sometimes, we have so many meetings. What I'm trying to say is we have so many meetings and put so much thought into what we do to try to make it the best show possible that I'm sure I exhaust you sometimes.
No, you don't.
Well, thank you for saying that. Keep that same energy off camera.
Yeah, off camera, I'm like, oh my God, another fucking meeting. No, we do have a lot though.
But yeah, we put a lot of thought into it. And so, yeah, we're able to do it at the level we do it because of you. And all that is appreciated, and all that is not taken for granted. And we sit and, once a week, we try to really map everything out because we want it to be a good show. And we want to do, you're choosing to give in a way that is, very, it matters and helps us out a lot. And so we want to respect that, and we want to do our job and our part to like use what you have chosen to give to like put back into the show to make it an even better show, so that you can hopefully, enjoy it even more.
Yeah.
But yes, we love you and we appreciate you so much from the bottom of our hearts. But, and if you would like to become a Patreon member and you're not one, but you would like to become one, then all you got to do is go to patreon.com/volume1pod or click join on this video to get early access to all of our content and access to our exclusive bonus Patreon podcast, Volume 1 Extra, where we talk about everything. We play games, we keep it chill, we do fun stuff, and that's available on our lowest tier at both places, patreon.com/volume1pod, or join on this video. But if you are not in a position in life right now, or just don't want to support financially, that's fine. That's so fine. There are so many other ways that you can show your support that mean just as much to us that you can do for absolutely free. And Mehgan's going to tell you what those things are right now.
Yes. If you have no blood to spare, you can join our... You can join our algorithm gang, and what they do, we love them for it. They comment, if you're not subscribe. All of these things help us out in the most free way possible, and they act as a free tip to us, and they produce blood cells for our running body that is Volume 1.
Okay, you kind of saved it a little bit.
And it really helps us out, and it really does act as a free tip to us. So if you can't help financially, you can always just leave a comment. You can put an emoji, comma, or just a comment about your thoughts on the video. And
share
we really
the video,
do
rate the podcast.
Rate the podcast. Yeah, all of
share
that.
The video, rate the podcast.
All of that good stuff. It helps us out a lot. So thank you if you do it now, or if you're going to do it.
Or if you've already done it.
And
honestly, just thank you for here all the way at the very end. That helps too. The duration helps in the algorithm. It all helps. We love you. That's going to do it. The only thing we got to do now is get out of here on our outro that's always the same. It never changes, which today, Megan is...
I could vamp about this all day. And it's not really an end.
Yeah, it's like vamp about this all day.
Vamp about Vampire in the Garden. In the garden, there's a girl in the garden.
What's that from?
Shaun of the Dead.
Oh yeah, good movie. Good
Yeah,
movie.
it's a good movie.
I could vamp about, but vamping is like when you're like buying time, right? When you vamp for me, I think like like
vamp time.
So you could say like Fine.
Fine.
Come on, we got this.
Find your Eden.
Yes, beautiful. We gotta find your Eden. I love it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And until next time,
Find your Eden. I wasn't sure. I was like, I can't remember. So I was looking at the middle one. I was like,
find your
Eden. Find it. I can't find
your
it.
camera.
Eden.